Hi, this video will cover KissLicer's advanced settings level and wizards. First, besides slicer settings, additive manufacturing designers and 3D printer operators need to be aware of the impact of print orientation on 3D printed parts. If surface quality was the primary concern for this print, the car should be oriented so its nose pointed straight up, minimizing the stepped surface effect that comes from subtle curves through the Z dimension. However, it would also make it slightly easier to break the car in half. Conversely, flat brackets should be printed laying down for optimal part strength. More complex parts must be oriented for the best compromise between strength and surface quality. Now open the Profile Settings window, and with the settings level at Advanced, all settings are unlocked. The only change you are likely to ever have to make on the Printer G-Code tab is either enabling or disabling the filament feed sensors by uncommenting or commenting the M11 command. When the filament feed sensors are enabled, a print will be temporarily paused if any of the filament sensors don't detect filament. If you are not using an extruder but would like the filament feed sensors enabled, you have to insert a small length of filament into the empty sensor, otherwise the print will be immediately interrupted. To enable the filament sensors, delete the semicolon in front of the M11 command. To disable the filament sensors, add a semicolon in front of the M11 command. The first advanced setting on the Material tab is the Preload Viscoelasticity value. The preload value aims to account for the non-binary nature of material flow to ensure optimal part seams. If most of the surface of your part looks good, but the seam has too much or too little material on one side, you may need to tune your preload value. For new materials with unknown preload values, you can use one of the preload initial value wizards to determine a starting value. If you know all the necessary physical properties of the filament, you can use the physical properties wizard. More often, you will need to use the experimental wizard, which will guide you through calculating a reasonable preload value. We will discuss the tuning wizard later in this video. The preload velocity, or VP value, is generally determined by material type. We recommend using the same value as a similar material or the value recommended by the material creation wizard. If the VP value is too high, the feeders may end up grinding filament rather than extruding it. The flow tweak value is meant primarily to help compensate for troublesome reels of material, but most of the time, for most profiles, it should be set to 1. For materials that cool quickly, increasing the min flow rate can improve layer adhesion, but can also have a negative impact on surface quality. For materials that cool slowly, decreasing the max flow rate can help to improve surface quality, but potentially weaken material bonding. The cool value specifies the flow rate for cooling paths. If you're not satisfied with the print quality of small overhanging features for a particular material, you may want to decrease the cool flow rate. Preheating helps to decrease overall print time, but can impact surface quality. For smaller parts where surface quality is your primary concern, you can choose the safe preheat option or disable it completely. The only advanced settings on the Support tab are the Z-band setting and interface angle setting. The Z-band setting controls how thick the overall interface structure will be. For certain geometries and layer thicknesses, increasing the Z-band setting can make it easier to remove the interface material from the part. The angle setting offsets the interface layer from the regular support structure to improve material bonding. The first advanced style setting is the crown setting. When two loops come too close together for the machine to then print standard infill, but still don't touch, KissLicer will attempt to fill the gap with a crowning path. The crown setting specifies a minimum length for crowning paths. Decreasing the crown value too much will increase the print time as well as ultimately having an adverse impact on surface quality. The skin of a 3D printed part refers to everything but infill paths. The skin setting ensures when possible a solid shell of the specified thickness. For thin-walled parts, we recommend the skin thickness not exceed the width of the loops. For optimal dimensional accuracy, select perimeter first from the loop order list. For optimal surface quality, select perimeter last. The loop 1 then perimeter option is a good compromise between dimensional accuracy and surface quality. Increasing the infill extrusion width can help improve layer adhesion, but can also contribute to warping problems. Matching the normal extrusion width is generally a good place to start for new materials. The layer control section determines how KissLicer will slice the model into individual layers. If max and first are set to 0, all layers will be sliced at the same thickness. The first field specifies the thickness of the first layer, and the max thickness allows the thickness to vary between the normal layer thickness and the max layer thickness. The top and bottom stepover fields control how much paths on adjoining layers overlap. Allowing KissLicer to vary layer thicknesses both improves overall print time and considerably reduces the telltale stepping effect of FFF 3D printing. The stepover values should be specified as percentages for varying layer thicknesses. For our printers, the joint option should be left unchecked. The inset surface field should generally be left at 0. The inset surface setting scales the part in the XY plane to help KissLicer users account for the dimensional variability of most printers. The stacked layer setting controls on which layers KissLicer will build sparse infill and support structure. We generally recommend a value of 1, allowing sparse infill and support structure on every layer. The seam depth and seam gap values control how KissLicer begins and ends perimeter loops. Ideally, the depth scale value should be 1 and the gap value should be 0, but some materials may warrant some experimentation. The corners option allows KissLicer to reposition the seam to align with part corners to better hide it. The join loop option controls whether KissLicer joins loops with a seam, flush, or simply start and stop with the loop paths with no joining strategy. We recommend the seam option. Under wizards, the tuning wizard is used to determine optimal settings for a number of KissLicer parameters. First, select the parameter to tune and note the KissLicer UI changes to horrible yellow to indicate the tuning wizard is active. Any G-code produced while the tuning wizard is active will interpolate the selected parameter between the given Z0 and Z-top values. The specific help section of the tuning wizard provides parameter-specific instructions for determining the optimal parameter value. To disable the tuning wizard, select None from the parameter list.